everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artists React. We're having a rough day today. I'm sick. Sam's sick. And Alan, his car is sick.
They broke into it. They broke the window.
But you know what? I knew on a day like this, I had to bring some spicy stuff to wake you up.
Whoa! Zip zap zooey!
You just watch it and it's just perplexing.
That would break both children's necks.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, when I'm not feeling so great, just show me some bad VFX in a multi-million-dollar movie. And that smile comes right back to my face.
Let's just jump into a movie called Mouse Hunt. Do you guys know the movie Mouse Hunt?
No, is it like Home Alone?
Yes, kind of, except it's about a mouse.
Oh. No.
Dude, a mouse gasp. An anime mouse gasp.
Oh my gosh. Bless him, he's just doing his job, you know? He's not a bad guy. Oh wow.
Wait,
We're
hold
getting
on.
all the tools.
Was that
man.
like a CGI mouse
The
in that
freaking
one shot?
CGI mouse in '97.
This is like the best example of mixing all the different tools in a toolbox to have a really realistic, gritty effect. You guys probably noticed there's a really amazing mouse puppet. There's also a CG mouse that's really, really well done for it being 1997 because they are specifically only using it for shots that really require it, but also they're hiding it in just the right way. And then you have a practical mouse.
A practical mouse. The way Christopher Nolan would do it. Using practical mice and not CGI mice.
Sorry, a real mouse, I should say. An actual
practical
animal.
mouse.
Like that shot right there. And it's like that, those kind of effects are, in a way, like the simplest to do, but they have so much impact when they're done right. Because you're just filming something twice. You're filming the mouse running, and then you're filming the nail guns. You're just doing it separately, and then just comping them together.
The puppet's great.
The puppet's amazing. So the puppet was done by the Stan Winston special effects shop. And the cool thing about the puppet is it's actually pretty big.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
that's
about to
clever.
say, you want to enlarge it so that way you can get that extra close-up detail.
The amount of expression they're able to get from this mouse, it's just
You
incredible.
can carry a whole papaya.
I really do think this kind of stuff looks better than CGI. Not in all cases, like you need to mix it, for example, like we just saw here, where you have the real thing, you have a practical effect, and you have the digital effect. Because they inform each other. You get to see the real thing to compare your fake thing to, and you can make sure it actually matches.
After we saw Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I immediately went home and I was like, yo, my kids, check out this sweet movie. I think this is gonna be next. And if you guys are watching have any ideas for cool animal, like creature, practical movies from the 90s that you love or remember, let us know. Did you guys see this?
No.
Wonder Woman 1984?
No.
No.
Some say it's a little lackluster in parts, but this particular sequence, it's a little fun. It's a little silly.
Isn't she supposed to be like super strong, like Superman?
Yeah, but no, this is one of those bad superhero movies where the plot is that the superhero loses their strength.
I hate those. Hear
Oh,
that?
no.
Oh, this kid's playing soccer.
Oh, these dumb
You
kids.
have to. Oh, let's go. Whoa! Zip zap zooey!
I can't tell if she can fly or if they're just being very liberal with their physics.
That would break
Wow.
both children's necks.
Those children just
Instantly. They're just-
gently curl into her.
They're already asleep in her arms.
It's like
immediately.
she's got duct tape on her hands. You just go,
Oh,
dude, look
the stiff. They have the strongest cores of children ever.
it's almost like they picked the wrong shot for every moment. You know, the old Navy security guards are after you.
You stole the mannequins.
Put them
Those belong in the
back.
children's section.
Yeah,
Or this, where she just picks them up and there's like no.
really,
Oh, look
really
at their
slowly,
necks, dude.
real slow. Let's do it real slow. It's just like this. It's like clunk, and then you're stuck to my
I'm
hand
stuck,
now.
yeah.
He gets parented to Wonder Woman right there.
I feel like this is what happens when you have vision, but it's not really tied to any sort of technical feasibility. To me, the best spectacle in movies is when the person that's executing the spectacle knows exactly where the limitations are so they can manage the scenes to work around them. This is why Godzilla Minus One won the Oscar for visual effects, because the director was the visual effects supervisor.
Yeah.
Like the movie is written and conceived of to be achievable with what they have.
Yep.
Even though it's the year 2024, filmmaking is not magic yet. You still have to do these things
Yeah.
somehow.
Being aware of the specific pitfalls is so big.
I love Wonder Woman just like the rest of us, but it's pretty impractical to run around in that super suit all day. You know what's not impractical? Today's sponsor, Bessie.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I can't even believe it, and it's not. Yep. Wow. Alright, I'm gonna slowly make my way over there. Oh, it's out of my pocket. I'm gonna find it. Like anything if I don't have to. I can't fucking believe it. Probably never gonna see this shit again. I need to make sure I know the location before I get out of here.
So I'm here on the streets just at the backside of the Check 15 building, which is right here, and then this is the base vertical. We are going to take a right immediately after this iron fence, van in front of it, which are both on our left mural, where we will just before you get to this car, and then you will see a door that you are able to enter into.
Okay, well, I'm... Don't fucking start lagging now. Holy shit. God, I hope they're all over there fighting. I don't think it was shooting. Gun just didn't kill him. That really sucks. It was lagging so fucking much. So that fucking invisible explosion fucked up my face shield. The invisible claymore. Fuck.
actually going to have to bring in some special equipment for this task that they annoyingly don't tell you until you've completed the first subtask. You will have to bring in 2 separate Wi-Fi cameras to plant in specific locations, and you can actually buy or barter for the Wi-Fi cameras at Mechanic Loyalty level 1 for either 275 euros, or the barter is for 1 electronic components and 1 power bank, or you can always just buy them from the flea market as well. So for this task, you do have to use the new Rusted Bloody Key, which is a key for Streets of Tarkov. This key can be found in the pockets and bags of scavs, as well as in jackets or in drawers, and it also can be obtained from your scav case, with the highest chance being from an intel folder run. And I also have a friend who did find the key in a duffel bag as well. Now, this key is unique in that you are not able to place it in your secure container at all, so that means if you do find one in raid or take it into raid, that it does have to stay in your backpack pockets or in rigs. And since it's not allowed to be discarded or dropped in raid, if you do bring it in with you, which would then void the found in raid status and then die, then the key will be destroyed on your PMC as soon as you die. So even if your friends are able to ditch your gear, the key will be gone unless you found it in that current raid that you guys are in. Now, this key cannot be listed for sale on the flea market, but there is a spawn on Streets of Tarkov, which I will show you guys now at the Klimov shopping mall. So I'm here on Streets, and this is the Klimov Street Green Flare Extract.
I can't believe I even found that key. Why is my fucking ping 400? Give me Rusted Bloody Key right here. last time I see that fucking key. And over here, I'm smooth as fucking butter. They allegedly fixed that. Bro. Why didn't I hear him until right there? Heard some fucking bullshit all the way over there, but not him right there. Unless they're trying to tell me that that fucking sound. No? Probably that. And now right here, standing right there, the audio sounds like it's outside. Hear him inside. Hear him outside. You can hear the wind.
button.
Oh, he's down here, right? That is him. I'm pretty sure I hit you in the head like 4 times. Damn it, 20 bullets. There's no fucking way. That was only 10. Oh, shit. I'm gonna go back up there. That's the wrong side. why. Like, what if there's somebody right there? What happened to these rooms? Nothing good. Bro, what the fuck? What the fuck? Bro. why? Hmm. Oh. Bro, why? What the fuck? Is that one with the grenade? A little crazy. Try to beef it on the floor. Nothing. It's not. Bro, fucking lagging. Oh, oh, where? Oh, I see you. Another one though. Why? Why? Bro, that was... Okay. No, I didn't see that fucking guy. Ooh. You can stop fucking lagging. Who found him? Ooh, you got fucking off too. Oh, are you the person that has my program? You're not him. Directly address the man on the roof. You. Friend. Why? Okay. I found it.
Слышите, давайте как-то организованно, блядь.
Lag.
As these super cool low-tap storm bursts. So if you want to elevate your summer, head over to Vessi.com/corridorcrew to get 15% off your first purchase. Now, just say yes to Vessi and get back to React.
Do you want to see an action scene that seems like it was like generated by AI?
Okay, yeah.
All right, so this is
Oh,
when she
yeah.
first gets her like cool armor, and all these stock military guys are like, "Uh oh, she's very good at like high-speed hugs." She's coming in at like Mach 3, and then she's just like, hug,
She's got extra sticky hands.
very slow hug.
It's so actually, dude. It's the exact same motion that saved the children and literally put them to sleep in her arms, and it killed two girls.
Ow. Okay, so that got him. The grenade. In the head. That's their mostly headshot. Damn, 15 out of 19. Wait. Yeah, 15 out of 19. That's crazy. Very nice.
Here's the Bollywood moment.
Here we go.
All right, camera goes in. Think, boom, camera goes out. Watch this. She does that, and it's so powerful that some guy, random guy goes,
Yeah, it doesn't tear off any plants. It doesn't kick up any dust. It doesn't knock over any debris. It makes the wires jiggle. But the human being in the shot did go flying.
Yeah.
like, I can't talk too much about the VFX here, but you just watch it, and it's just perplexing.
This is what happens when you have 8 different teams working on one scene, and the person actually directing all of it is not like an action person.
Well, look, this is DC, right?
So yeah, this scene just continues on from here. Let's move on.
We can maybe take it to the other end of the pond and hit up some Marvel stuff, because I don't know if you guys saw it's not new, but the most recent Ant-Man film.
I've not seen
Quantum Solace or something
Quantum
like
of Solace.
that. You know? Ant-Man Quantum Solace. There is a character brought to life in that one that is very controversial. MODOK made his big screen debut.
Yeah.
Some people weren't happy with it. Just say that.
Welcome back to the quantum realm, Scott.
Sweet.
The mask.
Looks sweet. In case you're dumb, here's why you should be recognizing the character right about now.
Surprised to see me?
What? What? Come on. Come on, guys. I mean, it is kind of funny.
It is kind of funny to look at.
But why did you have to stick to like a celebrity face?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you just do your own thing?
Yeah, that's the thing with the Thanos face. You look at that, it doesn't look like Josh Brolin. They're making a face and a face structure that specifically works with that outline and with that silhouette, with that build. Whereas this literally looks like we've put a face on there and then we've stretched it. It looks like Wydeen, honestly.
It looks like a wide Dean. You're totally right, because it's like with Thanos, you have a unique skull, unique musculature. Obviously, I think the color does help too a bit in separating it from the humanness. But this really does feel like Corey Stoll's face stretched out.
I mean, I'm glad they're still being funny with it.
Yeah.
And like the CG itself does look good. I would have liked the face to be more art directed, to just not be a regular face. I would have liked that.
People equated this, which is not fair because it's way better, but George Lopez in Spy Kids. Can you pull that up? There, dude, that thing. Where it's kind of like it's suffering from you're only seeing like a cutout of a face.
Oh, hey. You look like someone who appreciates the finer things in life.
Introducing the Corridor Digital Bonsai Tree Shirt. Available now until April 30th. This delectable design comes in short sleeve tee and light hoodie. Go to corridordigital.store to pick one up before it's too late.
And remember, website subscribers get 15% off all merchandise. Now, back to the show.
Please let this work.
Obviously, when we're talking about execution, especially in this scene, it's really good.
Yeah,
like
it's-
it's really, really
The
good.
CGI is incredible.
And there were some cool like tricks that they were using that I thought were pretty awesome in the actual creation of it. Like on set, obviously, when you're framing these massive CG characters and working with actors who have to work off this and make it a believable performance, you want something physical there. And so they actually printed out a massive 3D model of it that they wheeled around on a chair to basically sit in frame. They also had a guy stand in with like these 2 massive Steadicam-esque rigs on to give you a sense of perspective and help the DP in framing. And in that 3D printout, they had 2 witness cameras, one in each eye, so they could rebuild the reflections of what the eyes were seeing in post.
Cool.
And they also had one more further witness camera for all the metallic
Rebuild
reflections.
all the reflections. What are you talking about? Like
Yeah.
the green? You can rebuild a green room.
It's actually a really good point, because I'm wondering what reflections those are.
I guess it's Paul Rudd, maybe. Paul Rudd's face getting really close to the eye, maybe.
But look at like the damage and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
because there's a lot with this character. If you go back to an earlier
Like when he
version-
gets punched, that looks amazing. Look at the deformed flesh and everything.
oh, it's incredible.
You left Darren to die in the quantum realm. But the Conqueror found me, rebuilt me, made me the ultimate weapon.
Oh, this is like MODOK butt we get.
The booty.
That's a nice touch.
It is a nice touch, yeah.
Little butt cheek.
Definitely mixed feelings about this guy.
I mean, overall, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Maybe a little weird, stretchy. Like, it's weird how you instantly feel like it's stretched. That's the strange part. Like, I feel like if they would have just simply corrected that and then had a face form that matches the body type, everything would be solved here. But, like, otherwise, everything's excellent. It looks really good. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Guys, you can probably hear that I have a stuffy nose, but I'm already starting to feel my spirits being lifted by filming the show with you guys.
That's so good. I can tell you this. This next clip is sure to lift your spirits even further.
Oh boy, let's do it.
It was posted to our Corridor subreddit. This is T-Pain's latest music video called Dreaming. All the visual effects and editing was done by T-Pain himself. He has been learning Blender privately.
Yeah, T-Pain. Stuff like this is what differentiates a performer from an artist, in my opinion.
Apparently, he watches the show too.
It's super inspiring.
Super inspiring.
Do you remember when we were looking at Ghostbusters and we were looking at the shot of the car being crushed? I was going through the episode, the comments, and someone said, hey, there's a movie called Christine. It's all about a psycho killer car. It's a Stephen King book, obviously. But there's a really cool scene that is very much like that. And I saw it, and I was actually kind of impressed.
It repaired itself. Ooh.
Wow.
This looks great.
I wonder how they were even deforming it in the first place.
Yeah, I was watching it, and I'm like, okay, backwards footage. But then, like, those last shots of the bumper, I'm like, huh.
Well, because you were saying in the original Ghostbusters films, they used wax for the car being crushed. Is it like some sort of trickery like that?
Yeah, I don't think it's metal. It feels like it's plastic or wax.
I mean, it doesn't look like plastic, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't
No.
look like wax. It looks like, sheet metal and stuff bending.
They use the right paint too, because car paint has like multiple layers of different like reflectivity, which is one of the reasons actually really it's hard to do in CGI, because you have to mimic the metal, the paint, the lacquer on top, all that kind of stuff.
I was unable to find like documentation, photos, video of them doing this, but I was able to find out at least one fact about this, which was it is a plastic car.
Oh.
It is a plastic.
And it's large. I think it's a full-size replica. What they're using is they have hydraulic pumps that are actually, it is reversed, but they pull on it, basically. But, like, this shot in particular, like, look at the chrome bumper. Like, that.
Yes.
Like, it does look like it's being inflated.
It does.
Yes.
It's crazy. But, yeah, it's basically, like, all, like, vacuum-formed plastic that's all put together to make this full-size replica. And then, yeah, within the car, they're using pumps and things to actually pull on it and bring it together.
I wonder if they like hit it with heat guns first to like make it more malleable before they do the
Yeah.
shot. I love these little like tasteful moments from old movies, because visual effects and special effects were so hard to do back then that you only have like 1 or 2 minutes of like actual crazy special effects like in your movie. Nowadays the whole movie is visual effects.
That was Ant-Man. Ant-Man was like 3 heads and CG.
All right, well,
Been a day.
I'm gonna go
Been a day.
take some vitamin C and take a nap. But if you subscribe, it'd make me feel better.
Oh, come on, guys. If you subscribe, it'll fix my window. Please.
1 like equals 1 shard of glass.
Oh,
repaired.
my gosh. Come on, guys.
And as always, the best way to support us is on CorridorDigital.com. Get all of our videos ad-free, extended React episodes, and exclusive shows. All right, I need to blow my nose. Bye.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Visual Effects Artist React. It's Ghostbusting Day today. Busting makes me feel good.
That was better than I thought.
That's
That was
actually
pretty
very-
cool.
you're very-
The heck?
actually-
And I busted.
That wasn't pitch shifted. The original Ghostbusters film have utilized visual effects and some practical effects in some of the most clever ways. And the newest ones are actually doing the same with visual effects. Look, I am a cynic. I am a curmudgeon when it comes to rebooting franchises. But Ghostbusters Afterlife has one shot in it. If you haven't seen this movie, it's going to blow your mind with how good it is. Start with the dogs.
Terror dogs?
Terror dogs.
Carrot dog.
Does anybody want to play Parcheesi? Okay, who brought the dog? Oh, yeah, look at that, dude.
Stop motion.
Dude, that's almost what Jurassic Park looked like. What is the biggest dead giveaway that is stop motion?
It's the matting.
Oh, it's the matting for you.
Oh, and it's transparent.
Like slightly transparent. Also, in that particular shot, how do you handle a giant exploding door with volumetric smoke puffs? Like, where do you place your terror dog within that?
Because what optical compositing is A over B, really. You cut one out, you put it over the top. If we're dealing with semi-transparent stuff like volumetrics, cloud smoke, all that stuff, you have to pick, is it on top or is it on bottom? And there they kind of went, well, it's kind of got to be behind, so they just turned down the opacity 50%.
And the shot is so quick, it's over before you even realize it, and you just kind of get the sense of motion, which is the whole point.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to this, and
This
it's like,
stuff, and it's like,
Oh, God!
like,
that's
wow,
terrifying.
like the eyes look so cool. Like
Yeah.
the way they're like illuminated on the inside.
Did they have a full Terror Dog puppet, or was it like an upper body kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a full puppet, and there's a dude in there. There's a person on the outside that controls eyes, and there's a person on the inside that's basically controlling everything else. When I was researching this, oh my god, I have never come across the word supplied air more times.
Wait,
than-
because they can't breathe in there.
Exactly. This
That's
thing is
stressful.
so intense. Like,
He's scuba diving on set in a dog.
and then in front of him, he can't even see outside the suit. So what's happening is he's got like he said they referenced it as a Sony Watchman, those little portable TVs, and that's what he sees. And the perspective is a video camera outside, not the film camera, just a third witness camera filming the dog.
So he's able to see his performance from
in third
an
person.
ethereal point of view.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you don't see the back legs moving. You'll see another shot where you see how like the front half's moving there.
Yeah.
Now if he runs out into the hall, you'll see it's actually in a similar configuration where it pounces and then the front half is like where the acting is happening.
And the air through just the nostrils is freaky to me.
Yeah, freaks me
I
out.
want the mouth, man. It's the biggest hole.
We're looking at Slimer.
Slimer is the colloquial term for this guy, but guess what? That's not his name. His name's Onion Head.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
We're not rewriting history right now. No, it's
everything
not.
you know is a lie.
So Slimer is a very like animated character, and he's got a lot of like transparency. Do you know how the effect is done?
Yeah, Slimer is real straightforward.
Onion Head.
Onion Head. How do you bring this character to life? We want a floating, gross, John Belushi-inspired, slimy ghost. How do you do it?
It looks like they made some sort of practical puppet type thing, and they're basically double exposing that puppet with the original footage, which is why the green appears kind of brighter, and any of the dark bits, aka like the inside of his mouth where it's really dark, doesn't expose the film, which is why we can see through it.
Basically, it's a guy. Yeah, it's a guy.
Oh,
With
so
his arms through the...
There's a full-on dude in there.
Yeah, it's a costume. There's a couple people who are, helping him out with some puppeting tools to keep it going here. But effectively, yeah, it's a guy wearing a huge costume. And what they're doing is they're shrinking him down and giving him oversized props to play with. So that way they can keep the scale, which is kind of funny because you think, why wouldn't you just make him as big as a person and just call it a day there? But having him be like smaller with the small arms helps make it feel more like that character or like that puppet rather than just being like, oh, it's a guy in a costume. That scale trick
Totally
allows you to separate it there. So then, yeah, I guess do the Marshmallow Man scene.
No! It can't be! What is it? It can't be! What did you do, Ray?
Dude, this is such a great reveal of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man because it's like a little sliver reveal of his face. So obviously all the close-ups is all in camera. It's just miniature city set, and they're just filming it for real.
Yeah, and that's just a guy. It's a guy in a suit.
So so in this situation, they would have shot him with a really, really low perspective on a blue screen, and by comping him into the shot, that means they have to rotoscope everyone's head.
But isn't that a clean composite though
It's so clean.
the character onto the background?
It's the light from the ground cascading up and like falling off.
That's something you have to keep in mind with large-scale items is that like you have street lights, you got building lights, you got moonlight, you got all kinds of different lighting things that just don't exactly work the same way at people's scale.
And one thing you also take for granted in these shots is there's a lot of lighting happening in the original cinematography as well. Like those buildings are lit the heck up. And that's not natural light. They are going around and curating that lighting. They have huge lamps blasting these buildings so they can get a good exposure. And so then when they go back to the Marshmallow Man plates, they are able to know where those huge lights are rather than try and create some like naturalistic city lighting based on the shot. It's like, no, we know where we put the big lamps.
Yeah, this is a very good example of very realistic on-set lighting for both the large-scale and miniature work. It all matches and it all sells.
So there's one shot though. There's one shot that combines every effects technique and has some like really cool stuff going on in it. Here it is. Check this out.
Ray has gone bye-bye, Egon. What have you got left?
Sorry, Beckman. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
The perspective matching's great. That's cool though, miniature water like that. That's tough.
I'm glad you noticed it. That was the most fun of facts I think you could possibly find in a shot like this.
Because that is the hardest thing to get in miniature form, no? Because of the surface tension of the actual water itself. You can only go so small. When you want miniature water, what do you turn to?
You should know this.
Oh! Salt?
It's salt!
It's
Basically,
salt!
it's not exactly salt, but it's insanely fine sand.
That's cool.
Yeah, they tested it with salt. They were like, tested it with water, and they're like, yeah, obviously that doesn't work. And then they
Dude.
go to salt, and they're like, ooh, this is real close. And they find that it's not quite as fine.
Like
as
powdered salt?
Yeah,
Powdered sugar,
yeah,
but it's
powdered
salt?
Yep.
So this is great because it's appearing like large-scale water because you're getting like those little like waves within the cloud. Like whenever you look at like a waterfall, you get like those little clouds coming out. That is not. It's not actually a cloud. It's just really dispersed water, and that's like replicating that look perfectly.
And it just throws you as a viewer because you're going, wait, no, that's full scale.
So speaking of like high-level compositing, someone who used to work here, Finner, we did a whole episode of Loaded Questions with. It's up on the website right now.
When I was doing all that stuff with my friends in high school, simple little our own films, it was always with the idea of like, oh, I'm so excited to work on a big movie one day. And then once you work on the big movies, you're like, oh, I'm so excited to make little movies with my friends again.
If you miss Finner like I do, check it out. It's a great episode.
And he's really attractive, so check it out.
Dude, unreasonably so.
It's crazy.
All right, and now it's all downhill.
I mean, we'll let you decide. We've actually already looked at this movie on a previous episode. We specifically looked at the courtroom scene, and there's a lot of cool stuff there. So instead of talking about that again, I wanted to talk about the Statue of Liberty scene from the second Ghostbusters movie.
All right, it's getting late. It's almost midnight. Let's go, Venkman.
Here's something off the request line from Liberty Island.
Whoa. 3D has entered the chat.
3D.
Has it?
I mean, this is the same year as The Abyss.
Oh, this is 89, of course.
That's a good 3D model.
Wait,
Very good 3D model.
that looks so...
You're freaking me out, Ren.
That's gotta be a CG head.
I'm gonna say it's not a CG head.
CG heads didn't really exist yet.
It looks so CG.
We made a whole video about how none of this stuff existed
I
yet.
forgot it was 1989.
Wait, so I'm right. God, that's such a good guess. I was like, if I don't say CG head, there's 50% chance that I'm right. And so
So
It
you're
looks
right.
CG
It is
though, right?
not
That
a
was
CG
CG
head.
head.
But how did they get this shot? Because you're right. There's some trickery going on here. And in fact, the VFX supervisor on the movie said, like, low key, this is like his proudest shot.
did they scale the camera motion and get two motion control plates?
Ding, 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 ding. There's a couple things going on here. First off, they built out the Statue of Liberty at a few different scales. And so they have a pretty large version of this Statue of Liberty that they built themselves, but only from like the shoulders up. And there's cutouts in the Statue of Liberty like crown area, but then all the dudes on the set, they're just on a blue screen. So it's a scaled camera move for both the miniature of the Statue of Liberty and the full scale set of the people inside the crown.
That's cool, because in the next shot of them, they're leaning between the bars. So in my memory, I put them between the bars there.
So that alone I thought was pretty interesting. But my favorite shot is this next one. It has some issues with it, but I love this one.
What in the crossfade?
You saw it immediately. But like, how would you do this? It's 1980s. You don't have computer graphics. How do you do this shot?
You have to find a way to transition from the real to toy. I mean, if it's a model designed and like pre-fractured and stuff and built to break,
Or designed to be crushed?
designed
You
to
know
be
what is
crushed.
a better thing to crush? Wax. It's a wax model.
Interesting.
The transition is real rough. They had this really clever idea to crossfade the wax model, but they aren't able to crossfade away the matte line of the original car. What we're seeing is footage of no car on set, and then they got another plate of just the cop car there that they manually cut out, and then they specifically got the wax model lined up with it. But as the wax model gets crushed, matte line doesn't go with it until it's fully, yeah. But the crushing was so convincing. It actually like bends like metal at that scale wood under those forces. The glass shatters and gets blown outwards. How do you think they did the glass?
That's what I'm
Tube
curious
of
about,
rocks.
too. Huh?
Tube of rocks. You got a tube, you fill it with little rocks.
It's in the vein of what we just
If
talked
it's
about.
salt,
It's not just
kosher salt.
any salt. Margarita salt.
margarita salt.
salt.
Yeah, so they have like a little tube with margarita salt in there, and as the thing gets crushed, a dude like blows into the hole and shoots out all the salt.
Talk about a martini shot.
Hey!
So many different movies now have utilized salt in some sort of very creative, clever way.
Well, who
and I
knew
love
that
it.
wax was the secret to busting? So yeah, Ghostbusters 1 and 2, cool movies. You know, the second one wasn't as good as the original, but still memorable. Way to close out the series. So I'll see you guys later.
No, there's one. Sam, you don't want to go anywhere. Sam, there's a saying in film, the third
What is
one's the
this?
best one.
The third one's the best.
You know that saying?
I'm pretty sure there aren't.
Rolls right off the
I'm
tongue.
pretty sure there's no more Ghostbuster movies.
this is basically Ghostbusters 3.
This is in the same universe. This is a continuation of the story from 2. So yeah, this is Muncher.
Is that Onion Head the Third?
Yeah, this scene's really interesting because it's the first like real ghost that you see. But what's cool about the visual effects in this is you see that they are tethering it more to how they executed the original.
Oh, absolutely. Immediately. I'm
Immediately,
like,
you see
just the
fidelity.
fact that they used some practical like special effects there for the sparks. I'm like, okay.
Those are real sparks.
Yep, there's a lot of that in there.
That's a lot of sparks.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm
It's
charmed.
cool.
I'm already charmed.
So right here,
I love that face.
like you're getting the higher fidelity version. You're getting like the sweat specular, and you're getting the actual skin detail. And fun fact, the on-set supervisor would take a swatch of similar type skin to set to get lighting reference.
Let me reference my skin pamphlet.
They take their
my
He pulls out a slice of leather.
So they'd have a little skin patch that they'd use and wave around in the light to get like an accurate concept. And I just love that. From now on, if ever I'm on set, I'm taking a skin patch.
Who needs a chrome and gray ball when you just got a skin patch?
So, what type of skin do you prefer?
And that was another thing too that's kind of interesting here throughout the cinematography of the entire thing. They tried to tether it to what they would do if they needed to film with a puppet, and put some walls up that were there for the
Classic.
1984 film.
I know. Well, Mandalorian figured that out.
He's also semi-transparent, just barely. Like
Yeah.
where it's bright underneath is still kind of like showing through like a frosted glass window.
Yeah, they're blurring it like a little bit. It's kind of it's kind of weird.
So that's Muncher.
I like Muncher.
That's our sweet boy Muncher. Now, this next clip might really surprise you.
I heard you boys are talking about slime.
Did someone say something? Oh, there's ectoplasm on my shoes. They're ruined.
Well, I guess you should have been wearing Vessies, today's sponsor, which are...
Now, what is your favorite character from Ghostbusters?
Oh, the humans.
The humans. The Stay Puft makes a return, a triumphant return, in my opinion.
It had the impressions of the shelf on it just for a moment.
It coming out of the plastic bag
The animation
is amazing.
is so
So
good.
is that a CG plastic bag?
I don't know. The interaction's so good, it has to be. But like getting tearing of plastic, it's complex stuff.
Here's how you can tell. Look at the highlights on the clear plastic versus the highlights on the clear plastic of the other bags. The other bags have very clear, like, angular highlights from the folds and the creases of the plastic, whereas the highlights on there are more turbulent and noisy. It's a full CG bag.
It would be an insane thing to do to try and have this level of integration with a practical bag. Like have a little string or something, you're tickling the ripped plastic,
More
trying
like-
to get like a reaction.
It's more like that's how they would have had to do that in the past.
Exactly, yeah.
I didn't know where this is going. They pop out out of all of them. Oh wait, no. Different bags. Real bags in the back there. That's a real bag. Then it cuts and it's a completely different real bag. Now it's a CG bag.
Yep,
The old
yep.
switcheroo,
Clearly
dude.
different.
And it's those highlights again. You see how
Yeah.
they all get all noisy and turbulent looking?
Switcheroo. And this is cool because this is how they're using practical and CG to blend the two worlds again. Like the original did so well. And then, and that being true to the original too with the Terror Dogs.
Well, let's take a look.
Yeah, I love their approach.
Whoa, that's a full CG creature. Wait.
Yeah, that's
Wait, that is real.
Yeah, so they made a full-to-scale puppet, and there are shots where it is 100% puppet.
Like
they don't
this
do
is
any
definitely
blending.
that. Like
Yeah.
you can clearly see it in like the sort of stilted animation of the mouth.
Then they scanned and built off of the puppet for the
Okay.
CG version.
Great.
I mean, it has the exact same aesthetic, right? Whether it's CG or it's puppet, it still feels like that 80s puppet vibe. But what they're doing is they're adding complex animation on top of it, which of course is only possible today. It's the old meets the new again.
But then, like right there, I immediately was able to catch that it was suddenly a CG version of it, even though it looked almost the same. And I think it was because it moved too quickly. His head turns in a way, and his lips are so much more articulated than they were in the previous shot. So I was like, okay, that can't be real, even though it looks real.
Yeah, aesthetically, it's like almost one for one. So, yeah, spoiler in this, obviously. Harold Ramis unfortunately passed in 2014. So, obviously, when they're doing this remake and they need the original crew back together, he's unavailable, right?
Oh no,
Death does
it's going to be a 3D model of his face.
Well, this is the thing, man. It's like they need him in the film. What are they going to do? They're going to do a 3D version of him. Now, I will say, your reaction is fair, considering just how hard this effect is to pull off.
too. That looks pretty good.
Oh my god. If I didn't know any better, I would have just said that's like a green screen plate. Okay, surely this is like just a head replacement on an actor, right? Like that's what they did for Grand Moff Tarkin. They just replaced the head.
Oh man, it's so on edge right now. It's like the moment he starts talking, it's gonna look
Yeah.
so bad. But oh god, okay, they did it. Oh,
That's it. They're out. They're out.
Did
They
it.
made
They
it, baby.
did it.
Mission
oh my god,
complete.
yeah, they didn't make him talk.
Paul Rudd Flintstones mode?
Every second, I was like, oh, they're gonna screw this up. It's working, but they're about to ruin it, and they didn't.
And Ren, you're totally right. It is an actual physical actor for the body and just a digital head replacement for a lot of this stuff. Because this was done by NPC. They'd done Rachel from Blade Runner. So they were the team to call on this. You know, this is 2020, 2021. First of all, they played to the strengths, right? There's no dialogue. They let everybody else lead the dance with his interactions and whatnot. But of course, I think what most helps this is the additional ghostly layer that they're applying on top of everything. You're getting that final little separation from expecting full photorealistic human that we know and love, because it's a ghost. But yeah, as far as the animation itself, they went really lightweight with any of like the facial tracking on set. They wanted to keep it just maybe a couple tracking markers for reference. And they did just brute force hand animation with blend shapes. Blend shapes basically being you have 40 or so major poses of a face. And then by blending between those major poses, you get a massive spectrum of, you know, possible human emotion. For example, Ren, if you're just pulling a straight face and then pull an evil face, now blend from one to another. We get all that in between, baby. Look at that, with just 2 major poses. So with 40, you get a whole spectrum. And then a very talented team of animators went through and like painstakingly made sure that he was giving off the right vibe.
This is really good. That's some of the best like people replacement I've ever seen.
I watched it. I enjoyed it. Like it felt like a love letter from start to finish, and it seems like a lot of the public enjoyed it too, which is why they're making another one. So let's take a look at that trailer.
This one's coming out soon. Frozen Empire is like coming out next month.
We might be looking at a second ice age.
Oh, that'd be terrifying.
Dude, these look like fun effects to do. All the ice spikes.
Yeah. Oh shoot!
Ooh, dude,
it's Onion Head, dude. Let's go.
Dude, I freaking love Onion Head. Yeah, there's a blend there for sure. There's definitely a lot of practical stuff going on. It's also like the practical looking stuff. Like that shot right there, it's like looks like the dude in a suit.
I like this main creature too. It's like very ominously shaped. It's got a really good silhouette. They show this ghost coming through this hallway, and it's like it's the same sort of effect from that first movie. It's like it's a practical like thing. They probably have his arms on like little sticks and whatnot. It's not that they're doing practical effects. Everyone's always like, oh yeah, practical effects are always better than CGI, and it's like no, that's a naive answer. They are doing a mix of things, and it's basically just the right tool for the right job. Because here it's like it looks like it was a practical dude that they're comping in, but then when he goes through the guy, that's probably a CG dude or a CG onion head. You know, notice how his head and his jaw are moving slightly differently than it was before. So that's a full CG onion head, whereas the shot before looked like a comp shot.
We can't call him Onion Head. We can't do that.
I looked at the original tome, the original source material. It's Onion Head.
Well, that was Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
We done bust them ghosts. If you enjoyed this episode, there is a full 30-minute extended cut over at CorridorDigital.com where we look at even more Ghostbusters VFX. And Salty Sam unleashes some pent-up sodium on the 2016 film. But if you're cozy here on YouTube, we have a whole playlist of other reacts you can kick back and enjoy. Just go ahead and click that link on the screen. You know what to do. So thanks for watching.
Lore and gaming go together hand in hand. There's something about having a good story or history tied to what you're playing that can make it infinitely more interesting. Good lore can elevate a game to a legendary status. Whether it's given through detailed evidence that gets the player more immersed in the game's world, or through cryptic clues that add fuel to their imagination, if you already enjoy a game and find out it has good lore behind it, chances are you'll enjoy it even more. But bad lore can make you not want to play a game at all, with Hello Neighbor being the best example. A game that's lore and story was terribly written and conveyed, forever staining the reputation of a once fairly anticipated game. The gameplay was bad too, though. Lore is not necessary for a game to be good. There have been dozens of titles with no lore that have been amazing, and no one's going to hate a game for not including it. However, if a game does choose to include lore in its experience, it must be done right. Otherwise, you're better off not including it at all. Like a supplement, lore can serve to elevate its game. But if it's not thought out well, it can quickly pull the title down and affect people's perception of it. With shooters, lore is often conveyed through campaigns and PvE game modes. Just because your game is mostly online doesn't mean it has to have a bad story. Some of the best examples of online shooters that have good lore include Halo, Call of Duty, TF2, and I think Destiny. Before they deleted the campaign, I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to speak on that game. But what I am qualified to speak on is Rainbow Six Siege, and the complete nosedive its story took many years ago. Some games have lore that's so good they are renowned for it. Rainbow Six Siege is not one of those games. If you were to ask the average Siege player what was happening in the game's story right now, they'd probably say that zombies are besieging Ba Sing Se or something. Most players are too distracted with the amazing gameplay to care about the game's current story. And I don't blame them. I love this game. I play it more than I use my phone. What is my rank? Let's just say it rhymes with Whopper T. Most players are too distracted with Siege's gameplay to care about its story. But if they were to take a peek into the lore that the Rainbow writers have created, they would find out that they have been missing out on some of the most dumb and convoluted writing I have ever seen. This stuff is worse than my aim. To understand the start of Rainbow Six Siege's lore, it's helpful to know about the overall franchise's history. The first Rainbow Six title came out in 1998, based on the novel written by Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy was an author known for his technically detailed and suspenseful military books, and the first Rainbow game was made to coincide release with its book, with Rainbow's novel and the game being released during the same month. So from the start, serious and tactical themes were written into this franchise's DNA, and for a while the game stayed that way, with each sequel that came out maintaining the gritty atmosphere the original had established. Themes of secrecy, high stakes, and advanced tactics were stapled to the games. And when Rainbow Six Siege was announced, it seemed bent on maintaining that identity, with its trailer impressing fans with what looked like to be another modern and realistic take on the FPS genre. And for a while, that was what we got. However, it didn't stay that way. When I first loaded up Rainbow onto my Xbox, I was already hyped. I had heard about the game's serious reputation. I knew that the characters all wore subtle and practical uniforms. The energy of the game, both online and off, was said to be nerve-wracking, and the opening cinematic confirmed my assumptions with a grave message. Aurelia Arnott, a United States official, was addressing the game's threat. A group by the name of the White Masks had started to release dangerous gas in public places. According to Aurelia, this group could show up anywhere in the world and were indiscriminate about who they targeted, and Rainbow, an international counter-scarerist group, would now be reactivated to stop them. This was the story that Rainbow debuted with on launch. The White Masks were Siege's first antagonist. They were a very realistic and terrifying threat, and the mysterious lore surrounding them fit the franchise's brand perfectly. A faceless group that was using modern tactics to cause as much fear and destruction as possible, with Aurelia stating that the group was both physically and psychologically dangerous. They didn't have any flair or standout characteristics, besides being serious about effectively carrying out their missions. And this was an amazing choice because it worked perfectly with the gameplay. You see, when Siege first launched, it debuted with several PvE missions called situations. While these were removed presumably to cut server costs, they were once a big deal for a lot of players, mostly due to how much of a thrill it was to play against the lore-accurate White Masks. On the player side, Siege's gameplay was already much more measured than other shooters. You had to plan where you would deploy and were encouraged to move at a calculated pace. Combine this with any sort of enemy and you would have a game feel that is already intense. But the amazing part was that the mysterious and intimidating lore surrounding Rainbow's enemies was reflected in their behavior. The White Masks acted just as ruthless as they had been hyped up to be, using all sorts of heartless tactics to stop you. They would throw stun grenades, gather up in groups to more effectively hunt you down, charge you with human creepers, or just stay stationary waiting for you to turn around a corner. You could hear them communicating and breathing heavily the moment before they snuck up on you. And of course, their most evil tactic would be to use human bait as well as their other signature threats. This was a great experience because the lore and gameplay were intertwined perfectly, just as they always should be. It was extremely scary to face the White Masks, and oftentimes the only way to outsmart them was through communicating with your teammates and using clever tactics. On the multiplayer side, you could assume that every game you went into was practice against them. That was the basic lore, keeping everything tied together and immersive. And you could argue that being immersed in such a high-stakes scenario caused players to be more enthusiastic about engaging with the game the way it was intended. What I mean by that is more strategic and communicative gameplay, and less running into the sight like they're the main character. We see a lot of that today in Copper, where I may or may not live. Because the game respected itself, the community was at least encouraged to respect it too. But as the story started to conclude, the White Masks eventually got tired of being dunked on by Rainbow and planned one final attack. Titled Article 5, it was the last scenario of the PvE category, and the developers had made quite an impressive finale. The entire map was contaminated with gas, and as a player, your HUD represented a hazmat suit. It was a truly unique scenario. This would be the last hurrah for Rainbow's initial PvE experience, both gameplay and lore-wise, as the game would quickly take a much different direction. But not knowing this, many players were excited to see what kind of scenarios like this would come next. Unfortunately, we'd never get something like this campaign again. It's difficult to explain what exactly happened to the lore's direction after this. At first, the game's writers seemed to be taking a well-earned break, with the lore put on pause as developers focused on adding more operators. Several major updates were added to the game, building on its map and gameplay pool, specifically 8 of which were added before the game's lore was expanded outside of just introducing new characters. The 9th major update, Operation Chimera, would be the first to change things up, bringing with it the fan-favorite Outbreak event that brought new PvE gameplay. This provided additional lore to the game, albeit against a much less realistic threat. First of all, none of Outbreak is considered canon to the main game. It actually takes place in an alternate timeline, and none of it builds on the real world's lore. Second, going from a serious, the Batman Riddler type threat, to mutated alien zombies is quite the jump. Nothing like this had ever been done in the Rainbow franchise's games or novels, and it was quite the experimental decision. But despite it being less traditional, I can say that this was a solid addition to Siege, both gameplay and lore-wise. The story was handled quite well, as it brought back Aurelia into the story, with Ash having to call her up to once again authorize Rainbow, as they were not allowed to enter the scene without clearance, keeping things surprisingly in line with the game's inspiration. As Tom Clancy once described it, the core idea of his books were operators who were highly skilled, disciplined, honest, thoroughly professional, and only lost their cool when incompetent politicians or bureaucrats got in their way. And Ash having to get permission from the government to approach a new threat very much maintains Clancy and the Rainbow franchise's original vision. From a gameplay perspective, it was also popular enough to get a spin-off game developed, releasing much later in the future. However, no matter how you feel about the Outbreak event, it was only a limited time event, and wasn't meant to stay around for long anyways. However, once it was over, things dramatically and horribly changed for the worst, because from here on out, the lore is about to go from consistent to having a complete identity crisis. It is said that around 2020, the White Masks were defeated once and for all. Although a few of them were said to still be scattered across the world, their organization in the lore was considered dissolved. And with their story over, this is where the lore would go into a renaissance. A bad renaissance. It was said that having neutralized the White Masks, Aurelia moved on to be promoted to Secretary of State. And with this came a huge transfer of leadership as she handed over Rainbow to her colleague Harry. Now, if there's any way I can describe Harry, it's that he represented the new direction of Siege. And by that I mean, he was responsible for everything that went horribly wrong. The first thing he did was completely turn the program on its head by creating a concept for a massive sports arena, a location where the program would now mostly take place. Inside of this arena, the operators were now treated like celebrities, as the arena had been filled with thousands of fans? This was not just an arena for training, but was apparently also meant to entertain the masses, which is an interesting combination for such a confidential society to have. The operators were tasked with living in and fighting against each other in the arena, where they used BB guns and sim suits to play for points on a scoreboard, with a commentator included to hype up the fans.
Operators, this is match point. Only one defender remaining. 3 attackers remaining.
They were also interviewed and had talking heads like The Office, and the shift in tone had taken a complete 180.
Gustave Kateb, GIGN, National Gendarmerie Intervention.
G'day.
Do I look at you or the camera?
Mike Baker, Special Air Service.
Seamus Calden, Sanitation.
So why would Rainbow, a covert organization that uses cutting-edge technology and secret national techniques, do this? Why would they go from focusing on a realistic threat to playing Airsoft Olympics? There is not a good explanation. It was bad writing done to cash in on esports. Here is the reasoning for the dramatic shift according to the lore. Harry had moved Rainbow to this stadium, one, so that Rainbow could train for a wider range of real-world scenarios, by making them train in a paintball stadium, and 2, unite them as a team by also having them live together in it, and basically always work together in teams. This story direction doesn't work, and his plan fails horribly on both of these goals, and he dies. But that's not really Harry's fault as much as it is the writers. Think of Harry as like a scapegoat for the direction that Ubisoft wanted to move Rainbow towards. He's basically like a self-insert for the writers trying to put themselves inside the story so they can directly change what Siege is about. So what are the real developers' reasons for doing this? According to narrative director Alex Lima, the decision to phase out Siege's counter-scarist narrative was so that they could pursue a more comprehensive and scalable story. Apparently, making the game's lore revolve around Call of Duty Olympics achieves this. When it comes to making the story more comprehensive, I don't know about you, but soldiers fighting against real-world threats is a lot easier to grasp than soldiers competing in stadiums for points with live spectators. The whole thing feels impractical, and like the writers don't know which world this story takes place in. Why are there people watching this? Aren't all these operations using highly confidential technology? Don't they have identities to protect? Isn't this a bit of a risk? Alright everybody, I'm glad all of our best agents and 50,000 people could be here. This is gonna be a fun one. I packed some extra orange slices. Okay. The lore might be a little bit out there, but at least it accomplished its goal of being scalable. Rainbow is clearly just laying down the foundation for a story that will be built on for the rest of the game's lifespan. They wouldn't just go out with such a dramatic system if it wasn't scalable like they wanted it to be. As it turns out, it was not scalable, because just recently the writers killed off its mascot. So no more Wipeout, everybody. Sorry.
Wait,
How did
what
this
the-
happen? How did we lose the Steve Jobs of gaming? Well, I'm happy to say it's a just recently the writers wasn't scalable like they wanted it to be. As it turns out, it was not scalable, because just recently the writers killed off its mascot. So no more
Have a look.
What exactly?
Well, this is how Rainbow dies.
Confirmed. They're spread out well enough. Operators take positions.
Vera.
Sit rep on hostiles.
I have eyes on 15 mercs surrounding the QCR weaponry. Make that 14.
Neutralize the opposition and extract the ordnance.
Red Hammer. Take point. Ghost eyes. Support. On my mark.
Every operator dies. For us.
Now, if you don't mind, I happen to find you exceedingly fucking boring.
Yeah, well, don't tell me when I was swinging.
more Wipeout, everybody. Sorry. How did this happen? How did we lose the Steve Jobs of gaming? Well, I'm happy to say it's a hilariously convoluted series of events. I'm talking Marvel's Civil War levels of buildup, because the guy who did this is exactly like Baron Zemo. After starting their new program, Harry decided to hire Nighthaven, a similar organization to Rainbow, except for the fact that it uses more ruthless and risky tactics. Nighthaven and Rainbow actually have a lot of inherent conflicting worldviews. They do not like each other, and they do not do things the same. It's basically a ripoff of Talon from Overwatch. During their first tournament, because Rainbow does annual tournaments now, Ash, the leader of Rainbow, and Callie, the leader of Nighthaven, get put on the same team by Harry, because he knows that they don't like each other, so this should help. What a great idea, Harry. I hope this doesn't cause a butterfly effect that ironically leads to your own end. During a particularly critical round, Callie decides to use Ash and Dokkaebi as bait to secure the W. She also skids a shot through Ash's face, which is kind of concerning because why isn't Ash wearing a helmet if the supposed BB bullets can do this? What if someone accidentally hits a headshot on her? That seems like an incredible health and safety risk. After that kerfuffle, Ash is upset because of what Callie did, and she's brooding about it in the bathroom when she hears Callie lecturing the other operators about how in this line of work, you can't be worried about safety. And sometimes, you gotta bend the rules to secure the win. And Ash gets so mad that she storms into the other room and starts telling Callie off. She tells her that she doesn't know how they do it in Nighthaven, but here at Rainbow, you can't use people as bait. Callie tells her that it's just a game, which it is, and Ash punches her. The room then proceeded to break out into chaos, as the operators split up into two sides of the room, literally picking sides. And by the next cinematic, Nighthaven decides to leave Rainbow, an incredibly short run. It's almost like they were only here so the Rainbow writers could use them to cook up conflict. So as you can see, the game's writers are really going heavy on the internal beef angle. They're basically just stirring up drama out of nowhere. Even Ella and Zofia, who for a long time coexisted as sisters, started to get more hostile towards each other, with the arena being fuel for their rivalry. They basically get retconned into always having hated each other, and Ella leaves Zofia behind to join Nighthaven along with a bunch of other operators. Then Callie lectures Ella about how she made the right choice. Great job, Harry. This arena has really done its job of bringing everybody together. You have really done some good team building. A true peacemaker. This sort of Civil War narrative has actually been done in quite a few other games before. Overwatch has always had a lot of this in its lore with the heroes not getting along. Apex Legends had some beef, and I think Valorant too, maybe. You can tell that they also moved the operators into the stadium so that they could have a good environment for these arguments. Because if they were still mostly focused on actually stopping criminals, there wouldn't be any time for these petty differences. But now, because they're inside a safe environment, everyone can have fights without compromising any missions, which makes the Olympics direction even more ridiculous. But things get much worse. The introduction for Azami, a new operator, follows these events. And in her animated short, we get the lore that her boss, and I guess dear friend, was murked in front of her eyes. And she visits her friend Habana, who is still on Rainbow's side by this point, to show her that the bullets used were labeled Nighthaven property. So rather than jump to conclusions, the Rainbow folks track down the mercenaries who killed Azami's boss to see if they can figure out who ordered them. But it turns out the mercenaries were bait, and a helicopter starts shooting at all the Rainbow operators. And they're all like, oh man, I'm pretty sure this is the work of Nighthaven. We haven't gotten any more evidence since that bullet, but if this is Nighthaven, we're mad, so it might as well be Nighthaven. And so they decide to fully jump to conclusions by deciding to infiltrate Nighthaven's HQ. But when Nock does a sloppy job escaping, Nighthaven finds out she was poking around their base and tracks her down. Nock was tracked down. The invisible stealth operator, the one whose only ability in Siege is being invisible on cameras, was caught on camera and then tracked down by bees. And so Grim from Nighthaven pays a visit to her and threatens her, and that's actually all the retaliation that happens. Like, you thought this would launch a big conflict, but no, he just tells her, like, don't do it again or I'll come for you. And that's it. Rainbow just decides that it probably wasn't Nighthaven after all. Then Rainbow decides to go to Nighthaven again, but this time just to tell them to stay out of their business and give Solus a cool moment to shine. And then they realize both of their gear has been stolen this entire time because someone else has apparently been messing with both teams. So all of their conflict was pointless. This is horrible. But literally none of it matters because it turns out it was all a guy named Deimos. He had orchestrated everything all along. This guy then visits Harry, tries and fails to take out Rainbow operatives in front of him, and then tells Harry that old Rainbow was better and shoots him. Deimos is basically the Siege's community personified.
You know, Rainbow used to be feared in my time. A covert unit of Apex killers. And you turned it into the escapades.
Everybody then tracks Deimos down and captures him. So that is the lore with a lot of filler cut out, because as you can see, there's already just so much nonsense in it. They were clearly just making pointless storylines to draw out the lore, so they wouldn't have to worry about actually doing anything that had a big impact on the game. But the worst part is how the lore is not compatible with the game itself. First of all, if Nighthaven and Rainbow never really got along, how come they trained together in-game? You could explain this by saying that the game takes place at a time when the two forces were briefly in harmony before or after their conflict. But that doesn't explain Deimos being a playable character. We haven't got a lot of information about Deimos' plan. All that we know is that he thinks Rainbow is too soft and wants to kill all the operators. But now he plays alongside them in their games, whether it's in the Wipeout Stadium or anywhere else. He trains with his worst enemies. In his introduction video, the devs were like, yes, Deimos hates Rainbow, but he's not really a part of the team, guys. He's just agreeing to practice with them forever. Mocks Rainbow for being basically Airsoft. Becomes part of the Airsoft team. Oh, the irony. As you can see, the developers' decision to change Siege's narrative led to more problems than it solved. The lore was poorly strategized, as it led to the developers having trouble explaining why it doesn't line up with gameplay, and the pacing itself was also super disjointed, and it feels like it took years for anything to happen. The stadium basically acted as an environment for these silly stories to play out, and then couldn't be scaled anymore and was scrapped. Had Rainbow continued in its original direction, not only would it have been more coherent, but the stakes would be higher and fans would be more engaged. There are plenty of directions you could go with real-world antagonists that would have actually lifted gameplay up too. A new group of scarers that target tech could make levels where you can't use anything electric. And more levels like Article 5 would challenge players in new and interesting ways. The writers could also have those same dramatic emotions they wanted to stir up with Nighthaven, but in a much more engaging way to audiences. Just make it so Ash is brooding because the new opposition is causing her to doubt Rainbow's capabilities. Something like that would not only be more interesting, but it would also tie in with the game, raising the stakes around the organization instead of making it a recreational Nerf club. Lore and story are a critical part of a community's engagement with the game, and fans have been begging to return to Siege's more serious narrative ever since it was abandoned. The problem is, going back to a more serious threat would mean that Ubisoft would have to spend resources on making more single-player gameplay. We don't want to do that, dude. That would take money. We're more interested in appealing to esports, and cutting costs by removing all traces of PvE gameplay while we're at it. Although ask any esports player what they think of Stadium, and they'll probably tell you it's their least favorite map. It's not even in the ranked map pool. I really don't have any high expectations for this game's story, because clearly the narrative department of Siege has no idea what they're doing. Of course, in a game like Rainbow, lore is not the final say in a game's success at all. This game is doing very well, and it clearly didn't need its half-baked world building to do so. But judging it strictly from a writing perspective, this game's lore and overall story is a failure. It's not well written or interesting, and worst of all, it doesn't stay true to the game itself. I have no idea where the story is going to go from here. I'm predicting Deimos will escape from Rainbow and just wreak havoc for 3 years while still being a playable character in-game. They're gonna probably chase him around for 2 years before making him take over Nighthaven or something. If you like this video, make sure to plant the diffuser on the like button or team kill it. I don't care, just interact with it. Thanks for watching. I'm Lufa.
There's nothing quite like the raw experience of exploring a new map for the very first time, especially when you're all alone facing down the wrath of an entire city. It takes careful movement, planning, a delicate mix of aggression, and at times trigger discipline to make it out. And sometimes, even when you do everything right, it's still not enough. This adventure will encompass everything that is the core Tarkov experience and then some. But first, we needed to figure out how to even get out of this place alive. We need Mira, Prospect, Embercom checkpoint, police checkpoint. I don't know what any of that means, of course. I forgot to bring cash. First raid of the new wipe on a new map, and we were already about to get in a fight in the very first room we'd explored. Dehydrate. more. I didn't mind getting into a fight right off the bat, especially because it's not possible to buy an MDR this early, so getting out with someone else's starter weapon along with my own would be a pretty huge deal. I still had tons of exploring and questing to do though, and our max health was already down to 355 from the normal 440 after all the surgery we had to do. This could potentially make future firefights a lot more devastating than they ought to be. Okay, one more time diving into the corner just because I know I can't get shot from outside here. I should try to throw these. It's gonna be too heavy.
Pick up another key. That one's open. Broken. I like Bro. Where's my fucking turn? Uh-oh. This shit is fucking unacceptable.
Слышите, давайте как-то организованно, блядь.
Can't do shit because I'm fucking. Laggy as fuck. Over there. Oh my god, there's another one. I'm Alright, reload this place. I think that one over there was some player stuff. Hold up. Huh.
Слышите, давайте как-то организованно, блядь.
Подмогните, пацаны! Подмогните, пацаны! Подмогните, пацаны!
Слышите, давайте как-то организованно, блядь.
Подмогните, пацаны!
Слышите, давайте как-то организованно, блядь. Слышите, давайте как-то организованно.
How many did I kill right there? So 8 in that room. Or like a little area, the hallway. Wait, how is that? Oh, because I didn't loot them. Oh, nice. I thought dots killed me.
Alright, so we need to try to get to Mira, Emercom, or okay, police estate. So Mira or Emercom. I don't know what either of those things even are, let alone where they are. We also got to try to find an insurance drop. I want the armor, but it's just it's so heavy. It's not as good a condition as mine. Oh wow. I didn't realize there was a sight line there. Can you go in here? That's cool. Oh man, I need all this stuff. You need the TP early. I guess we need it more than an IFAK, because it's for the hideout. Hold on, chat. I gotta hide my fucking helmet. Let's just try it. I was watching Deadly's stream and it looks like Jaeger's not asking for these particular croutons. So yeah, I don't know. Oh wow. File Cabinet City. The full MBR starter kit. Yeah, I'll probably start tossing some junk. Oh, is that one of the guns I gotta look at? Might be. Give me a graphics card now. Oh. Worth a shot. I'll take an egg, right? Okay, I did need to come here. For whatever that's worth. Okay, so I'm looking for something called Mira or Emercom. None of these buildings are what I need. How will I know? I mean, hopefully they like say. Oh my god, it's like a painting of a guy. I don't like that. So like, what is this? Okay, oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. Kaspersky? Okay, I see more paper. I'm good for paper. I don't think I want to loot any more files this raid. I might check that weapons though. Kaspersky fake. What is this? Oh! What? Banshee's level 4. I think this is 2. And I don't want to have to drop my commando. This is a really interesting building. I will give him that. That has an M on it. Is that Mira? I don't think so. Huh. We were pretty full of important loot at this moment with no clear shot and at a lower health total due to the fight earlier. Sometimes choosing not to squeeze the trigger is more important than the times you do. Oh, Tarmac. That's one of the quest areas. I think